Hello Flosstube and welcome to my very first video. My name is Melissa and I'm the Cupcake Stitcher. I have been watching Flosstube since spring of 2017. I was originally looking for a tutorial on how to make full coverage pieces easier, and as the YouTube video ended, it went to a next video, which was a Flosstube video. And I was curious. I was like, what is this? Why is this lady talking about pieces that she's stitching? And do people actually watch this? Because I want to watch this. And so I scrolled down and saw thousands of people had watched this lady talk about her cross stitch pieces. And from there, I found tons of other stitchers. I found out about Stitch Mania on Facebook, and just the stitching world kind of opened up to me. So I've been stitching for since I was like 8 or 9. My mom was stitching cross stitch bibs for friends' baby showers, and I wanted to learn how to do it. My mom's not an avid cross stitcher. Actually, I don't think I've ever seen her cross stitch other than those bibs, but she taught me how, and I've been stitching on and off ever since then, so for about 20 years or so. What I figured I would do today is go through the Know Your Needle Worker tag, so you can get to know me a little bit, and then go through my WIPs, and do a little bit of a WIP parade, which sounds like a lot, but I have less than 10 WIPs here. So I am a rambler, so the video might be long, but that's okay. That's why we're all on Flosstube. We like to sit and chat and learn about each other. So the first question is, where do you live? I live in Marysville, Ohio. It's a town about 20-25 miles northwest of the Columbus area. I originally grew up in Hilliard, which is a suburb of Columbus, Ohio, and moved December of 2016 to be closer to work. So Marysville is halfway between home where I grew up and where I work. So it's about 25 minutes either way. So it's kind of a nice happy medium. What do you do for a living is number 2. I am a physical therapist. I graduated from Ohio State University in 2015 with my doctorate in physical therapy. And immediately started working at a clinic in a small town that I had done a clinical in. I loved the setting. It is a hospital-based outpatient therapy, and since I work in a rural setting, we have actually a fairly large patient population that comes from around the area. So we get to see a vast majority of diagnoses, and I primarily treat orthopedics, but I will occasionally see some geriatrics, some balance, falls type patients. Neurological is not necessarily my thing. I'm just not comfortable with it. Same thing with peds. I love kids, and I will work with them in an orthopedic manner, but from a developmental it's just not my cup of tea. And so that's what I do. The third is, how long have you been stitching? Kind of answered that. About 20 years, since I was 8 or 9, on and off. Once I graduated from PT school, I would say cross stitching became my go-to hobby. Throughout high school, I was very active, involved. I was in the marching band. I worked at a grocery store here in town, and was always busy. So I didn't have time to do a lot of stitching. I did some, but not a lot. Same thing in undergrad. I lived on campus for 2 years, picked it up a little bit more in undergrad, but then I moved home. And when I was living at home, I was going to school full-time, commuting, and then I would come home, change my clothes, and go to work. And I worked basically full-time. So I was full-time student and a full-time worker. And then in grad school, I didn't work full-time anymore. We were technically only supposed to work 10 hours a week outside of school. That was something that they told us that we really shouldn't be doing because we needed to be studying, obviously, physical therapy. I mean, I have my doctorate, so it was not an easy program. I didn't really listen. I worked on, in general, 20, 25 hours a week. And all my classmates thought I was crazy. They weren't sure how I got anything done. And I sometimes wonder how I got anything done. So once I graduated from PT school, I had a ton of time on my hands and kind of got back into cross stitch. And now it's something that I do on a daily basis. Number 4, what are your 3 favorite hobbies other than cross stitch? The first one, as could probably be implied by my name, Cupcake Stitcher, is baking. So that was something I got into in undergrad. I just wanted to bake cupcakes one day and found some recipes on Pinterest, learned how to pipe and make them look fancy, and the rest has kind of gone from there. So I do have, I like to call it a small unofficial side business where I bake primarily for friends or friends of friends. I don't have a business card. I don't want it to be official. It's just something I do for fun on the side. If it was a job or, any way, shape, or form official, it wouldn't be fun anymore, and I wouldn't want to do it. Other 2 hobbies I like to do, I'm a big reader, and I also like crocheting, which I don't do as much anymore because I cross stitch all the time. Number 5, do you have any kids? No, I am single, live by myself. I don't have any kids. I have 2 nephews. My sister is 2 years older than me, and she has 2 little boys, a 2-year-old and a 7-month-old. So I really love being an aunt at this point in my life. Hopefully kids, husband, family down the road at some point. Number 6, do you have any pets? Also, no. I work 10-hour shifts, and like I said, I live by myself. So I would feel really bad having a pet and having them just be home by themselves all day. I am a dog person. We have a family dog, Roxy. She's a 15-pound terrier mix of some sort. Part terrier, part princess is what I normally say. She's spoiled rotten. And so she'll come and stay with me if my parents are out of town. But that's about it. I've been thinking about getting a dog, but just from the factor of the dog would be sitting all by himself at home just makes me sad. So number 7, what is your favorite movie? I am definitely a movie person. I always have to have something on while I'm watching or while I'm stitching. So whether it's a TV series or a movie, I mean, there are several that are my go-to. My biggest one is probably Pride and Prejudice, the Keira Knightley version. I once watched that like 10 times in a week in high school. It was my favorite. We were on snow week or snow. We had like a really heavy snow week or something. And I just continually watched it. It's really good. I also like Something Borrowed. It's not a movie that you like the first time you watch it. And then the more you watch it, the more you understand why things happen in that movie. It's just really good. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely watch it. I also like Harry Potter. Who doesn't like Harry Potter? And the Hunger Games series is probably one of my favorites. And that also kind of goes along with one of these other questions. Number 10, what's your favorite book? Hunger Games was probably one of my favorite series of all times. Also really liked Harry Potter. And my new favorite book series, or author, there's 2 different series by this author. Sarah Moss is the author, and she has 2 different series, A Court of Thorns and Roses, and A Throne of Glass is her other series. They are both amazing, fantasy-esque, young adult, young adult loosely. I don't necessarily feel like it's super young adult. A little bit more of an advanced maturity content in some of the later books. What is your favorite TV show? Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, Grey's Anatomy. Those are kind of my big ones. Most of the time I will come home and I'll put Flosstube on and get caught up with videos from the day. I try and stay fairly up to date with my subscriptions. So, what is your favorite music? Kind of an eclectic mix of music. I don't like country. I don't like techno or rap. Pop. I like a lot of pop music. You know, top 40 type stuff. I like Taylor Swift, but then I also like the Black Keys, which is a band from Ohio, if you've ever heard of them. They're a little bit out there in the rock world. Lumineers, Imagine Dragons. It's kind of a weird mix. I like music. I'm not the type of person, though, that can tell you, like, oh, this song is from this person, unless it's, like, one of my top favorites. That's just not how my brain works. What is one word that best describes you? Laid back. I mean, I'm pretty easygoing. I like to stay pretty drama-free. You know, I would say that's probably me. Who inspired you to start your videos? So I actually went to StitchWay in January and had met Pam and Steph. I left and got there on Wednesday and stayed through Sunday. And when I got there, I, of course, sat in my car for a little bit because of social anxiety. You know, I didn't know anyone. My mom and my sister were kind of shocked that I was going because they're like, you're not very outgoing. Like, you don't know anyone? You're just going to go and stitch with people? And I said, yeah, I think so. So I got there Wednesday, probably around like 1:30, 2 o'clock or so. Like I said, sat in my car for a minute, composed myself, went in, checked in, got set up in my room, walked around the building a little bit. It's a gorgeous facility if you've ever been there. And then finally got the nerve to walk into the stitching room, and Pam and Steph and the rest of the stitchers in the room were the first to kind of welcome me and kind of accept me into their group. And so I got to sit with them throughout the stitching retreat. Steph is like my new best friend. She's awesome. We got along really, really well. You know, we're pretty similar in age. We like to stitch different things, but that doesn't matter. We both like stitching. So I had been talking with her a little bit, like I've been thinking about doing videos in the past. I just don't really know how to get started. So she talked to me a little bit about like some of the technical side of things and like how they've progressed through their videos and, you know, using like a webcam and then their phones and then how to upload things. And my intention after I got back from StitchAway was to do my first video. And that didn't happen because that was like the week from hell when I got back. So like I got back Sunday afternoon, like we had a huge snowstorm. So I was expecting to have to like shovel my driveway out of snow. Pulled up, rolled down the street, and one of my neighbors had shoveled or taken a snowblower to my driveway. So I was like, yes, this is awesome. And then I walked into my house and my house was 30 degrees. So at some point, or me being a blonde, I thought I turned my thermostat down. I may have turned my thermostat off. So I had some frozen pipes in my house. Spent the rest of the afternoon unpacking and hitting those with a blow dryer. I was very lucky that nothing burst. But I just called my mom. I was like, don't tell Dad, but my pipes are frozen in my house. So I got all those fixed. It took a few hours. I ended up having to clean out the aerators because the water pressure wasn't right. And I think when the pipes froze and then unfroze, it like released a whole bunch of gunk. So that was Sunday. Monday, we had more snow. And like, I couldn't make it to work on time any day. Like I left early several days. One day there was a whole bunch of snow, so traffic was just slow. Another day there was a really bad accident, so traffic was really slow. It was like whatever on the one day I didn't even set an alarm. So I woke up 15 minutes before I was supposed to start and see my first patient. I generally try and be there 5-10 minutes early, and I live 20-25 minutes away. So obviously that didn't happen. Wednesday my furnace went out again. I babysat for my sister and then came home and my house was 55 degrees. So I had to call home warranty on that one, and had someone scheduled to come out Saturday morning. Thursday night when I was driving home from work, I got a flat tire. And I'm not a type of girl who knows how to change a flat tire. So I sat on the side of 33, which is a 70-mile-per-hour highway in the middle of the country, for about an hour and a half until someone came to fix my tire or change out my tire for me. So I had to buy a new tire. I got that done Saturday afternoon, and when I was there, they were like, well, honestly, you need 3 other new tires. So I have a full new set of tires on my car now. And it was just a bad week. Like I just was talking to patients and I was like, I had a great little vacation. And then I came back and this week has just been awful. Like I hope I've gotten all of the bad things out in 1 week, at least for the month. And that's kind of what happened. Everything bad that happened to me in the month of January happened in that 1 week, and it was just rough. And then from there, work just got crazy. So we just moved into a new building and gorgeous new facility. But the month of January consisted of those of us not involved in the planning aspects of it, seeing more patients. So my caseload was really full. I was working not a lot of overtime because I'm salary, unless I pick up certain days and have like a vast amount of overtime, then she'll cover me for that. But staying late and documenting, having a full schedule the entire day, I would come home and I was drained. So this past week was actually our first week in our new building. It's gorgeous. It's amazing. We're all very excited to be there. Still obviously working out some kinks in terms of workflow type things. Our cell phones, our work phones aren't working all the time. So I don't always know that my next patient is here. But yeah, so that's awesome. So Pam, so that was a rabbit hole. I think I told you I like to ramble. So Pam and Steph really inspired me to start my videos. And then what is your favorite food is the last one. Pasta. I like carbs a lot. Any kind of pasta, macaroni and cheese, ravioli, spaghetti, Alfredo, pasta salad. That's what I made for lunch this week is pasta salad. So yeah, pasta is my favorite food. So I guess I'm going to go through my WIPs. I'm going to go from oldest to most recent. Now a lot of these I was too lazy. I didn't go back and look at where I got the pattern from. Most of them are from Etsy. So I didn't look at the designer. If you want to know, just leave a comment below and I'll try and get back to you with the designer. I know some of them don't exist anymore, but we'll go from there. And you will see kind of the evolution of my stitchy knowledge. And you'll kind of see what I mean by that. So the first one is my oldest one. I started it in 2009. I think I was a sophomore in college. And it is a gigantic full coverage piece. There's many, many things that I would have done differently with this one, and I'm hoping that I can finish it. So it is Almond Blossom by Vincent Van Gogh. This is just a picture of the actual piece of art. It's not I don't think there was a picture of what the finished piece would look like, but it's essentially this. So this is done on 14 count Aida, 2/1. And I originally started this piece Extreme Cross Country. And I was like, I'm not getting any of this done. I also never like crossed anything off my pattern. So I don't know how I ever managed to get this much done on this, because I'm just going to show you the pattern. If you can see, if you're able to steal this pattern from this picture I'm about to show you, you're amazing. There you go. That's how big the pattern is. So I don't think I think I had maybe considered highlighting, but then I had all these, I taped the whole piece together. And so these taped edges, you can't highlight over that. It's just not going to work. So I was like, oh, just screw it. I'll just know where I stitched. Well, I don't always know where I stitched. Other things I've learned from this one, margins are important. I don't know how I'm ever going to be able to frame this. And also masking tape is a no-no. I've since learned that. A few of my other pieces have masking tape. You'll see kind of as we go through chronologically, that goes away because I learned things. So without further ado, here is the first piece. So you can see I started, I think this is like 14 different colors, the most popular colors in the piece, so that I had something to work off of. And so I had started Extreme Cross Country, and then since then I've gone back and filled in column-wise. So I think I think this is about a page width here. I think I'm on to the second column of pages. It looks really cool, and I really like it, but again, margins. Like this is about 1.5 inches here. This is maybe 1 inch on this side. And then this is probably what I needed. Like this is probably like the minimum of what I needed, which is, this is about 2 inches on this side, and 2 inches or so on the bottom. But the whole thing is taped. If I take the tape off, the Aida starts to unravel. So yeah, I really still like this piece. I just hope that I can figure out a way to finish it without it falling apart, and then actually being able to frame it. So I do have a couple parked threads here, which you can see. So there is that. That is the first one. Just give me a minute here. Trying to keep everything somewhat organized. The second one is also a pattern from Etsy. I don't have a picture of what this one will look like when it's done, but I'm relatively close to finishing, so use your imagination. You can kind of fill it in. It's a floral wreath. I believe there's a middle of it is supposed to say enjoy. It will not say enjoy. I don't really care for that. I'm thinking of putting a quote or something in the middle of it. I just don't know what yet. I liked the blues and the pinks. It's kind of color scheme that I have going on in my family room. I mean, here's my couch pillow that came with the couch, pink, blue. So I really like it. The pattern is not great. I love the design of it. I love the way it's turned out in terms of stitching it. This is on 16 count Aida. This is still when I really, really liked Aida. I do still use Aida, mainly for full coverage pieces though. So there's that. Let me show you why I don't really care for the pattern. Again, if you can read this, more power to you. It's just, there's no numbers over here. And then the pages don't line up. So you kind of just have to, I wrote in numbers here. You kind of have to guess on how to piece it together. And there's no like overlapping coverage. Like there's no center line. Oh, there is a center line. There's a center line vertically, but not horizontally. That's what it was. So I literally like went through and numbered them. Oh, it's just, the pattern is kind of crappy. The design is great. I love the design, but the pattern's kind of crappy. My next one I just found when I was getting ready for this. I don't know if I'm going to finish stitching it. I am a big Disney fan, but a lot of the Disney patterns out there I don't really care for. I don't really want anything too cartoony looking. Not that this one isn't, but so I found a pattern that I liked. They had all the princesses. I bought Ariel and Rapunzel, which are my two favorite. I figured I would give at least one of them a try and then go back and purchase the rest. So I started Ariel. I really liked it. Went back to purchase them and they didn't have them anymore. So I found them on a different Etsy webpage, and they had a whole set. So I bought the whole set from that source. But the thing is, I'm very OCD, and the stitch counts are different from the original patterns that I bought and the set that I bought. So I may finish this one and give it to my best friend. She also likes Ariel, and she has a 7-month-old who is like my best friend. This is what she did. Played Disney Ariel, or like little Disney Little Mermaid Broadway music for her, and now that is the only way she'll fall asleep. So she really likes the Little Mermaid music. So I might give this to her. Her first birthday is in July. But again, margin issues. Like, there's like maybe half an inch between the edge and my stitching. I don't know what I was thinking. Probably trying to be cheap and conserving paper and conserving fabric. I'm not that way anymore, I promise. I don't know how old this WIP is. Oh, this is what it'll look like in the end. So, like I said, I don't know if I'm going to finish this one. Even if I finish this one and I want to continue to do these, I will probably redo this one from the set that I bought, because the ones in the set are all the same size and I like consistency, and I'm just OCD that way. So if I do finish this one, it will be a gift. I was stitching this one, Extreme Cross Country, which actually worked pretty well for the size that this piece is. I generally stitch by page now. I tried looking at this one in the camera earlier, and it's really dark. So you can see some of the blues there. I was stitching most prevalent color to least prevalent color, and I don't remember how far I got, but I was taking a picture after each one. So the black was the first. You can see the black border there. And then her hair stands out pretty well if you're on camera. So. But margins, you need, excess fabric to do things with it in the end. All things I've learned. It's a learning curve, guys. This next one is a full coverage piece. It is my current focus piece for the year. I'd like to have this one done. And I have 6 of 25 pages done currently, with a goal of completing 2 pages a month. So I've already completed one for the month of February, and then I'm going to start probably later tonight on the second page, just to get it done. The pages aren't quite as big as like a normal Haid would be. It's 70 by 50 stitches wide is each page, I believe. So I've gotten one of the pages done in 4 days. Most of the time it takes me about a week or so. This is not a pattern that if you ask my friends and my family, is this something Melissa would have in her house, or is this something Melissa would stitch? They would tell you no. But the colors on this one just, I don't know, it just calls to me. And I really like it. So it is Day of the Dead. The artwork is by Maria Dimova. The designer, the cross-stitch designer, is Addict to cross-stitch, which really bothers me grammatically. It should be addicted to cross-stitch or cross-stitch-addict. Addict to cross-stitch just doesn't sound right. I think she's from a different country, so I can't complain too much, but it bothers me. So this is a Katrina as Hanan from Stitching Misfits. Kindly pointed out to me at StitchWay. That is what this is called. One of the ladies who dresses up with the sugar skull makeup. It's a really pretty picture. The stitching is even more amazing. I've kind of gotten into a groove on how to stitch it, and so it's become pretty easy for me. I really like stitching it. It's fun. I mean, I love all stitching, but this one is especially cool. So here it is. So this is on 18 count fiddler's cloth. Nice large margins on this one, guys. I'll be able to frame it. So this is the page that I just complete probably about a week ago. And then I parked my threads into the next box, or into the next page. So for this one, I'm stitching cross country by page. I generally will start with one of the most prevalent colors, or sometimes I'll just stitch these up. I like to have really long threads so that I don't have to thread my needle over and over again. Which someone's going to tell me, you should use shorter threads. I don't really care. This is how I like to stitch. So stitch by color, by page. Start with one of the most prevalent colors in the block, and then that way I have kind of a basis to work off of and go from there. And then I stitch this one off of my computer. I use an electronic pattern for this one. So this flower though is like the best thing ever. It's super confetti heavy, but it's gorgeous in person. I love it. Again, not something that would scream Melissa if you talk to my family members and my friends, but one of my favorites right now. The next one, some of these you might recognize from here on out, is my first Mirabilia pattern, which is Lady of Mystery. I have nicknamed her Lysandra. If you've read Throne of Glass by Sarah Moss, that series, Lysandra is one of the characters. I think she shows up in, she may have been mentioned in book 2, but she plays a much bigger role in book 4. Book 4 and 5. So she is in the book a lady of the night, a working girl, an escort, however you want to, say that. But with Sarah Moss's books, there's always an element of fantasy or magic. So she's not exactly what she seems. She's one of the sidekicks of the main character. And this just reminds me of her. Lady of Mystery, I think it's perfect to kind of describe Lysandra from the book. So I am stitching this one on 32 count Lugana from Silk Weavers in the color Pearl Gray. Gray is my favorite. Blues and grays are like my favorite. So this is like perfect. And here she is so far. So I started on the top half. This was like a page right along here somewhere. And so I started with the dress, and then I decided I wanted to try the skin 1/1. I had never done that before. It turned out actually pretty well. See if I can zoom in pretty close. Oh, I don't know if you can tell that that's 1/1. But I really enjoyed it. I like the dimension that it gave between the dress and her skin. It's such a pretty piece. It's different than most Mirabilias, I feel like. It's a little bit more of a modern style dress. I don't know, she's gorgeous. So there are a few other Miras I want to stitch. The Evergreen Needle just did a conversion of the Raven Queen, and that one's incredible. I didn't even want to stitch the Raven Queen until I saw that one. She did it in all golds and metallics. That one's awesome. I want to stitch it like that. I also want to do red. And maybe one of the mermaids. I'm not a huge mermaid fan, but I do like a few of those. So I may pick one. The next one that I started is from Just CrossStitch magazine, April 2016. seasons in chalk art. So I finished winter at Stitch Away in January, and then I started this one a few days later once I got home and settled and didn't want to pull my hair out from that week. So I'm currently working on spring. I plan to do at least 6 of these, each of the 4 seasons, and then there's a Christmas one that I like, and Pam's doing it. Pam bought the subscription just to do this. The patriotic one with the flags. I love that one. It's amazing. It's probably my favorite out of all of them. The one that I am not sure if I'm going to do is the pumpkin that says boo for Halloween. Steph is actually, that's the only one that Steph likes from Just Keep Stitching. She just showed it the other day on her videos. I really like this one. It's the only one I like. And I was like, that's the only one I don't know if I like. So let me show you what I have done here. This is, let's right side up. This is on 32 count Belfast linen in slate by Hand Dyed by Stephanie. So I have a little swirl, little leaf motif, and then starting the outline of the rabbit there. I got the rabbit's bow done and some flowers. But I have winter done. It's sitting across the room from me. I can see it. I might show finishes in another video. And my last current WIP, I do have one finish from this week that I'm going to show you as well. This is my current favorite piece. Like I said, I'm a big Disney fan, but a lot of the Disney patterns I don't want hanging up in my house. These ones I do. If you watch DStitcher or follow her on Instagram, you probably saw her Mucha Princess Belle, which is like a 2-foot bell design. I actually found that on Instagram when I was just browsing on Thanksgiving Day. I loved the pattern so much that I went home from my parents' house and bought Rapunzel, who is my favorite. And then the very next day, all of the patterns went on sale for $5 off, which they're relatively expensive patterns for being Etsy patterns. They're $20 a piece. But for the $20, you get an amazing pattern. I would say it's pretty comparable, if not better than a Mirabilia lady. There's regular stitches, quarter stitches. I just do petite since I'm doing it on an even weave fabric. Back stitching, beading, the works. French knots. I think there's some French knots in this one. So this is what she looks like. This is Rapunzel. I don't know if I'm going to stitch the oval around it. There's a support group on Facebook for it, and there's a girl there that is redesigning the ovals. But Rapunzel's isn't out yet. So I don't know what her plans are for that one. But some of the other ones are really cool, and I would like to stitch some of the other ones. Like Cinderella's is a clock behind her. And that's perfect. It's awesome. So the other thing about these patterns, they're really well organized. I wish it showed overlap on the pages. It doesn't, but everything else is pretty clear. And Ashley May, who designed it, has great, excellent customer service. So when I went to purchase the other patterns that I wanted on Black Friday, when they went on sale, they were all gone. And the reason for that is she is only allowed to release 50 of each princess. And so the original artist is Hannah Alexander for these pieces. Ashley got special permission to chart her artwork, but the one stipulation was she didn't want like a mass production of these pieces. So she got permission to do, I think, 50. So each chart is numbered. I think mine might be number 13. I also could be making that up, but it does have a number on them and it's signed. So it kind of sounds like you're going to get like a copy of the pattern in the mail, but it is an electronic download. So I have this one I bought in the sale. I bought Cinderella because she was available, but then I also got Ariel, Belle, and Aurora. And then since then I've bought Elsa and Megara from Hercules. I still plan on getting a bunch more. She also sells them in sets of 3 for $55 versus, so you get $5 off of a set of 3 versus buying each one individually. But there's not one whole set that I want to stitch. Like I'm not a big Tinkerbell fan. Pattern's cute, but I don't know if I would like to stitch it. There's one, like, I don't even know what, Atlantis, I think is what it is. Kita, I might just be making it up. Like Jane from Tarzan, I don't want to stitch her. There's a few that I don't really care for. So, but these patterns are amazing. This is my current favorite. I started this one in January, so it's about a month old. And I've gotten quite a bit done. This one's really, I'm also stitching this one on Pearl Gray from Silk Weavers, but this is a 36 count even weave. I think it's Modino or something like that. I don't know exactly what it is. So you can see that I started with her dress on the side here. Sorry, I'm pointing with my middle finger. Let's do that finger. You can kind of see the outline of her hand. I will be stitching her skin not 1/1 because there's a bunch of blended threads. I'm going to stitch it 2/1 tent, which some of the stitches in here, like as the colors blend together, let me see where there's a bunch of them. No, there's a giant stretch. I can't see on that side. There we go. I'm gonna get it. So those threads there, here in between, kind of split down the middle of this block of color and this block of color. So they're petite stitches. Rather than rethreading a needle and stitching 1/1 full cross, I just decided to do 2/1 tent stitch, and it's been working out pretty well for me. Like, you can't really tell, they're so small anyways, and then with blended threads, you know, you can't do 2/1 full cross on 36 count. You can, it's not gonna look good. So yeah, that's my current favorite. So those are all my current WIPs, and then I did have one finish. I started this last Sunday. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen it. So one of the girls at work, since we've gotten a new building, we have much bigger desk spaces. She asked if I would stitch her a cross stitch pattern, and I of course said yes, I will, because I love to stitch for other people. I know some people don't. I primarily stitch for people that I love, you know, my siblings, my best friend. I don't stitch for everybody, but I do like this girl. She does our insurance checks, so she does a lot of work for us. I would love to do something for her. So she sent me a pattern of kind of what she was thinking, and I was like, are you cool if I just do my own thing? Or find a different pattern to stitch? And she said, yes, as long as it says Thug Life. She wanted a cross stitch pattern that says Thug Life, and I just thought that was awesome. So I asked her, you know, is there a certain color scheme you like, or you want me to focus or do? And she said she likes purple. And then we were talking, and I had mentioned something about another piece I had done to her desk mate, who's a guy. in, metallic floss. And she goes, I like sparkly. So I found 2 different patterns and kind of combined them. Let me just show it to you here. So this is the finished piece. It's fully FFO'd here in a hoop finish. This is my first ever hoop finish. I enjoyed it. It was actually pretty easy to do. So this is just 28 count Monaco. I mean, it's cheap fabric from like Michael's or Joann's. So the 2 different patterns, the first one is the wreath here. I made quite a few changes. All these little dots were originally orange. I changed them to be pink because I didn't like them. And then anything that was, all of these things here were like a darker pink and a lighter pink, and I changed it to purple metallic. So I just used DMC Light Effects, which I know a lot of people don't like. I've never had an issue working with it. I may show you one of my other patterns. There's a giant band of DMC metallics, and I didn't have any issue stitching with it. So it took some trial error to figure out how to stitch with it, but once I got it down, I mean, I'm good. So and then the other pattern was obviously here that said Thug Life. I took out a couple of little flowers and then changed some of the letters so that I liked them better. And then I just finished it in a hoop. There's lovely blue, purple, sparkly felt on the back that I just stitched in there, and then I just tied a little bow and added a little like hanging ribbon that she can put at her desk. So I wanted to do my video today because I'm going to take this to her tomorrow and surprise her. I just told her that I had started. I haven't shown it to her, and I haven't told her that I finished it. So it'll be a nice Monday morning surprise for her. But yeah, this is my Thug Life cross stitch, which I'm just gonna smile every time I walk by her desk now because A, she has a cross stitch on her desk, and B, it says Thug Life. It's just awesome. So there is that. I think that's about all I had for the first video. I can see that I'm at close to 50 minutes. If you stuck with me through this whole video, I'd like to thank you. Hopefully you'll come back. I plan on doing a video maybe every 1.5 to 2 weeks. That being said, I'm a major procrastinator, so that may not happen. But you can at least follow my progress on Instagram. I'm Cupcake Stitcher. It is public, so you can just follow me. You don't have to request to follow me. Other than that, like I said, thanks for sticking around, and I will see you next time.